Welcome to Talking Buffalo, featuring conversations with guests from around the world of sports, media, pop culture, and all things Buffalo. With your host, Patrick Moran.
How you doing? Welcome to Talking Buffalo, part of the Blue Wire Network. It is very late on Monday night. This is Talking Buffalo, take two. I'm joined by Joe from Queens. We were recording a short time ago, and dude, I bought quite literally out of the box on Sunday, a brand new laptop, not a cheap one either. It's got more memory, more speed. It's an i7, it's an i5, all these other technical things that I don't even know what the hell they're supposed to mean. So I thought that things would be easier. And as it turns out, it's been a nightmare so far. My video's flickering. If you happen to watch this on YouTube, you see the top of my video flickering a little bit. But like I said, I literally
my video does
earlier.
extreme close-ups sometimes and it comes back out. Like right now it's on the close-up video. So it's eventually the camera's going to go back to a regular shot. So I'm going to back up a little bit so you guys don't see my nostril hairs.
No, you're good, man. You're good. But anyway,
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody out there, whether you're watching this video, whether you're listening to this in podcast form on Tuesday morning or sometime Tuesday. I appreciate you all. We're going to spend the majority of today talking about day one of NFL legal tampering. The Bills, some significant news. They lose a stud middle linebacker in Tremaine Edmunds. Well, maybe some people would call him a stud. Some people might have a difference of opinion. But anyway, Tremaine Edmunds goes to Chicago. So the Tremaine,
I give him a second look if we're
Edmunds,
talking studs. Yeah, give him a second look.
all right. Well, the Tremaine Edmunds era in Buffalo is now officially, or unofficially, because it won't be official till Wednesday, but it's over. So, what are the Bills going to do next? Where do they go from here? We'll talk about that. A guy that they have added as we've taped this. And like I said, in take one, when we were doing this a few minutes ago, I was telling you that a couple years ago, I still got my Twitter open because even though it's late, we're taping this now, it's almost 11 o'clock at night. Wasn't quite that late, but I had Greg Thompson on the show, and like quite literally in the middle of the show, the Bills ended up trading for Stephon Diggs. So Brandon Beane's been known to do some work here late at night. And I kind of look back at that episode. I can't even blame Greg for getting excited, because so did I, because it just came out of nowhere. And, it was like a big trade. When there's free agents, you kind of look at that list, you discuss them for weeks. But when it's a trade, it's not a guy that you really spent much time thinking about. And Stephon Diggs was a pretty big name. So that was exciting. But anyway, plenty to talk about today. Buffalo Bills, NFL. Before we get to that, though, I know this weekend was your date anniversary. I saw that from stalking your Facebook, even though we're actually Facebook friends. But what's up with your date anniversary? What'd you guys do?
Nothing. No, we went to our I talked. I mean, I got to make this organic since we already went over this. But yes, we went to our first place we ever went to. I don't know if people primarily celebrate date anniversaries. Like we have like a few. We have date anniversary. The day we officially, I was like, hey, will you be my girlfriend? Go steady with me, whatever you want to call that. And then you have your wedding anniversary. That's like the three tiers, like
first and third for sure.
Yeah, like the third. I mean, obviously, like if you're ranking them,
will you be my girl's got to come last.
Over date anniversary, you think?
Yeah, I think first date. You only get one first date.
Yeah, but asking you to go out is like more of like that's a serious thing. Like I'm gonna.
Yeah, but you guys might break up, then you might ask her out again.
Well, I'm saying where we are now, though. We're obviously married. Like, what's a bigger deal? Like, oh, I officially. Hey, do you want to like? Is that or date anniversary?
Hey, everybody operates differently. I'm not knocking you. I don't think I've ever in my life celebrated or can even remember a "will you be my girl" kind of date or anniversary. I certainly remember first dates. Again, I can remember back to 1999. My girlfriend at the time, or became my girlfriend, future wife, we went to Melody Fair in North Tonawanda, a little ass music venue, and saw Loverboy and Pat Benatar. Loverboy, by the way, I love Loverboy in the 80s. A big rock dude, man. They weren't as popular like Van Halen or Styx or REO Speedwagon, but Loverboy was the shit in the 80s. And of course, Pat Benatar in that little stage that kind of just circled ever so slowly. If anybody out there watching or listening has ever been to Melody Fair. But anyway, my point was I can remember my first date. I don't really remember anything being official. I feel like being official is like when you start having sex or something like that. Is that like an official date or something?
But
Let's just be honest here.
I mean,
This
what if I
is
were to tell
talking
you, like,
Buffalo After Dark now.
what if I were to tell you that the official "Will You Be My Lady" became the first day we also had sex? So maybe there you
All
go.
right, well,
So
that's fair then. Just
yeah.
different
But
interpretations
how
of
long
the
did it
same
take you to
thing.
ask her? How long did it take you to ask her out, like to be like, "Will you be my exclusive"? I know some
It-
people don't have that moment. Like maybe it just organically becomes like a thing.
I
Whereas
think that's
with
what
me
it
and my
was.
wife, okay, because with me and my wife,
You
there was
had
like we had a moment, like we went down and we went to the park and like we talked and like it was impromptu, like, hey, let's go study, like kind of like that.
my wife and I, we met I was bartending and we met at my bar, and it took a long time. Actually, we were friends for a while because I had a girlfriend at the time. In fact, I lived with the girl at the
Oh,
time,
jeez.
and she had a boyfriend at the time. So it was
Who
just
broke
about.
who up? Did you break them up or
No,
she broke you guys
I don't
up?
think, either of us actually
All
broke each
right,
other up.
yeah,
I
sure,
mean,
okay.
dude, it was what 20
You were a
some years ago. I
bartender.
would
I
be
don't trust.
honest.
Let me tell you
Don't
something.
trust
Here's what.
bartenders. I agree with you. I
Yes,
don't trust bartenders
I
either.
have always said do not trust
That's
strippers
fair.
and do not trust bartenders
That's
in
fair.
terms of intimate relations. Do not trust those two people, types of people. You can't trust them.
I
They're
agree.
not into you.
That's fair.
They need tips.
That's fair.
That's it. Always
I
avoid it.
it's funny. I was having a conversation with my daughter about this just this past weekend, and don't bartend. If you're in a good relationship, don't bartend. Now, that's not to say there are some people who bartend who are in great
You
relationships,
bartend and you were married. You've
but
been married for 1,000 years.
the minority, it's a minority. The majority of people, and I've seen
Okay.
so much shit behind the bar. Bartenders, you go into it saying, "Oh, nothing's going to ruin this relationship." That temptation's there, man. If you're a guy, you can even be ugly. You can be ugly like you or I, man. But if you're a bartender, chicks are going to like you. It's simple as that. You're the bartender. You got the power. You get them some drinks. You just have that perception. I'm telling you, I've seen it a million times. So you go in there and you got a nice, cute girlfriend or a nice, cute boyfriend with all the pure intentions. And before you know it, people are flirting with you and it gets to be a little bit much. And then maybe you're not doing anything wrong, but that person that you're with shows up at the bar and they see that and they get a little jealous. And then that'll lead to an argument. I've seen it a lot, man. It's just,
Well, your wife
don't be,
didn't have to worry about other girls flirting with you because you're
yes,
an
she
ugly
did.
bastard. Oh yeah,
No, she
sure.
did.
You
She
had to.
definitely
Oh,
did.
okay, whatever, bro. I've
Same
seen
though,
you.
because she bartended too. So it was the same. It
Oh
was a
God.
mutual thing. And my point was
All
our
right.
relationship probably got a hell of a
So
lot
she was a
better.
bartender. Okay, all
Our
right.
relationship probably got a hell of a lot better when neither of us were
I
were
always tell
bartending
people, do you
anymore.
remember the show Cheers? Like Sam Malone
Sure.
ended up being alone, so it's like that's why the bartenders are always going to end up being alone at the end of the day.
It's a
Like
party, sure.
you know,
Yeah, you end up alone. It's
but
a party. But like I said,
yeah.
anyway, yeah, but date anniversary is really cool. It is. I think having a date anniversary where you celebrate the day that you had your first date, that's cool. Obviously,
I
wedding
like it
anniversary.
because we go to the same place. Like I don't know how long I'm going to be going to the same place because it's in the neighborhood. Because eventually we do want to move to
Sure.
like a shitty suburb at some point, so it'll be harder to probably come back to it. But I enjoy going there. We go to the same seat. We get the same drinks. You know, it's kind of a fun thing. We're there and then we leave and that's it. And then we got Southern food and that's
It's
it.
cool
But
to
yeah,
it's cool to have a place. It's cool to have a
yeah.
place, a go-to place. It's cool to have a go-to song. It's cool to have like maybe a
And
go-to
we don't have a
movie.
go-to song. I think we
No.
talked about that once when we were planning our DJ music at our wedding. It was always a pain in the ass because you have those songs, like I can only imagine like you and your wife, you had moments when you're at a bar, oh, this song came on and this
Yeah.
song. When we met right afterwards, COVID hit, and so we never had those moments at the bar, because we got married like a year and a half later. We never had those moments at the bar where we can get drunk and listen to
Yeah.
whatever Billy
Different
Idol. I
time
don't
for
fucking
you.
know. Like we just didn't have that because like at that point it was kind of
COVID. Yeah.
yeah, COVID, things were shut down. I mean, now it's pretty normal. Like, so I'm sure if we met now, we would have more. We went to bars, we could have
Sure. It's kind of like
we
high
could
school
jam out
kids.
to Michael Jackson or whatever the hell.
Sure. It's
You
like
know.
high school kids who, kind of got robbed of a lot of social stuff going to high
Sure.
school during COVID. Anyway, it's what it is. I think it's pretty cool to have a date anniversary. We're going to, you know what, I'm going to save it for the very end because I do want to dive into some Bills talk here because there's a lot of stuff. This is one of the busiest weeks in the entire year for the Bills, for the NFL. Got something that I kind of want to get off my chest, a little bit of a tribute to my sister. I'm going to save that for the very end of this, so stick around for that. Anyway, we're taping this late Monday. Legal tampering has started, and in reality, tampering starts at the combine every year. So many people have told me that deals basically get done there. They become unofficial on Monday publicly, and then official, of course, on Wednesday when the league year officially starts. In terms of the Bills, before we get into Tremaine or anything else, we'll start with an extension over the weekend. Matt Milano, Buffalo Bills linebacker, signed a 2-year extension, so he'll be a Buffalo Bill contractually anyway through 2026. And very importantly, the move also cleared about $6 million in cap room. I kind of want to get back to a question that I was talking to you about when we were trying to tape this the first go around here. In my opinion, and not counting Von Miller, because Von Miller is just a different animal. But that said, Von Miller's only been a Buffalo Bill for a half season. He only played. I think at this point, Matt Milano on a defense that's been filled with pretty big names, guys who have made Pro Bowls and All Pros and have good reputations around the league. I think Matt Milano has emerged as the best defensive player on this team. Again, not named Von Miller. That was recognized this year. He made the All-Pro team, first team All-Pro, which I thought was awesome. And even going to that, back to that Cincinnati Bengals humiliating, embarrassing playoff loss where pretty much nobody showed up. Matt Milano was one of maybe 2 or 3 guys that actually played very well. So Matt Milano extension, 2 more years, $6 million saved on the cap, a good player to have around, with a couple of years of uncertainty coming up, for, quite frankly, Joe, with a lot of these guys whose contract could be coming up with stuff. What's your thoughts on Milano?
I feel he's the best bang for your buck draft pick they've had in terms of where he was selected
Agreed.
and what they did with him. 5th rounder. He was not a part of Brandon Beane's draft classes. It was Doug Whaley, Manos, and McDermott. And, he's been a great player. He's been good, like, right out of the gates. That's kind of the interesting thing about him. Like, he was a good rookie. Then he got better. And the only thing that was, like, a hiccup I felt was injuries. Like, injuries kind of, like, were annoying. Yeah, but, like, he's always been a good player. And I think he really put it together really well this season. He made an All-Pro, as you said. And he's been a really great player. And I mentioned this to you, I think, on Facebook message, and I'm just going to shoehorn this in. It's interesting to me, like, he's one of those guys they extended, and they've only extended, for Brandon Beane has only extended 2 draft picks that he's selected that had gotten an extension. So you're talking from 2018 to 2022. So that's 5 drafts that they've had, and they've only extended 2 players, and they could have extended guys starting in 2000. With guys who were like going into the 3rd year, like they could have extended guys. And it's kind of amazing to me that they've only done 2. And yet that 2017 draft class.
Who's Josh? Who's the other one? Off the top of my head.
Josh Allen, Dawson Knox.
Dawson Knox. Okay.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I'm pretty.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's it. And then, like,
got me thinking, no, I think that there's one more, but there's still only 3. Okay. Teron Johnson got an extension.
Oh, okay.
So it's still not a lot, though. I agree with your point.
Yeah, and then but the crazy thing is the 2017 draft class is 3 players just from that draft class alone that has nothing to do with it. And I was listening to, like, Sal Capaccio on WGR today, and he was talking about how, like, the Bills are all about drafting, developing, and re-signing their own guys. And I'm just thinking to myself, they haven't really done that much with their own guys. And I wonder. We'll get to Tremaine Edmunds a little bit, but it's like you're letting that guy walk after you traded up for him, which that's not good management. Even though, and we'll get to how he is as a player, but are they really into drafting? I mean, everyone says that they're into drafting, developing. Like the only guy who doesn't say that is the Rams guy, GM, because they freaking trade those picks for guys all the time. But, like, it's remarkable to me. It's only been 3 draft picks that they have like given them extensions. And like who right now, like we don't know if they're re-signing Gabe Davis next year. We don't know about Ed Oliver. We don't. There's like a lot of like who the hell right now would you say? Oh man, Rousseau maybe. I mean, you want to sign him probably whenever that, but he's got a couple of years. But I ain't creaming for them to sign Boogie Basham over here. Like, oh, they got to extend him. They've not been really. They haven't been as good at developing their guys and signing and extending them. And this is through a Brandon Beane prism. It's not his. I'm sorry. Like, how much? I'll ask you this question. Like, does he get credit for those three guys, Trey White, Matt Milano, and Deion Dawkins? I don't think he does.
It's a fascinating topic. Well, I don't think Brandon Beane wasn't even on.
He wasn't even there. Yeah,
Sean McDermott would be the one that you'd be arguing.
Well, no, I'm saying but that's where it is. It was like I think Brandon Beane gets a lot of credit for gets a little bit too much credit. General. Yes, like come on, three guys. Like and who's next? There's go ahead.
No, I was gonna say until maybe today. Monday, I should say, because people are listening to this on Tuesday, maybe until today, that you could say the 2018 class was the best class. And maybe it still is because you have Josh Allen. But I'll tell you what, that 2017 class, you have Trey White, and then, by the way, that was at the end of the first round, 27th pick, because they went back. And let's not talk about what they could have. We all know that. But anyway, Trey White, you have Deion Dawkins, and you have Matt Milano. Milano and Trey White are literally all pros. Deion Dawkins is a Pro Bowler. Now, whether you agree that he should be a Pro Bowler or not, that might be another discussion, but he has made the Pro Bowl. He's a very, very at worst serviceable left tackle. Pretty good. That's three great players, man, who are key parts of this team. And then you got Zay Jones, who was picked in the second round. It wasn't his time yet. He just had some demons, just some issues with, his own issues on the field, issues off the field. He's turned his career around, and now he's become a good player, a really good player with Jacksonville. That was a good draft. It is a fascinating topic, and I don't want to. We got a lot of months after the draft and this stuff to really dig in. But who deserves that credit? I don't know.
Yeah, because it's like I've mentioned this on the podcast before, but I always remember when they fired Doug Whaley and the whole draft class. It didn't really get out till like 2 days before it happened. Like I remember Pro Football Talk had like a post that says like there's some rumblings that they're gonna get canned, and then like they got canned, and like soon afterwards, we always talk about how the Bills are very tight-lipped. Rumors do not get out of there. They're very tight, but like the one thing that got out quick to every reporter was that Whaley, Manos, all those guys had nothing to do with that draft. It was all Sean McDermott. And everyone was like, yeah, totally. That's what happened. And it was just like, really? I'm like, did anyone like go to Whaley or Manos and go, hey, did you guys have nothing to do with it? Because if you listen to Ty Dunn's podcast, when Manos, they did a podcast dedicated to that draft class where Manos talked about each player. And it's not like he was going to go to get wings at lunch during the scouting process. I feel like they don't get enough credit. I think some people in the media kind of wanted to like sweep them out because I think some of them didn't really like Whaley all that much, and they were trying to get favored towards McDermott and the PR people over there. But it's not even up for a debate. You take Josh Allen out of the equation, like that's the best draft class that McDermott has had in here, and Beane had nothing to do with it. But again, it's crazy to me that off season like was a great offseason with Poyer, Hyde. They made those decisions right around this time, like we're doing now. It set the foundation for like the next 4 or 5 years for this team. It really did, especially on the defensive side of the ball.
Agreed 100%. And I do think it's a fascinating conversation to have in terms of who deserves credit, because you said it, not even just the draft. Some really key free agents came that offseason as well. But anyway, all right, so Matt Milano back in the mix, or not back in the mix because he wasn't going anywhere, but they extended him for 2 years. Also, and man, if you follow the Bills and if you pay attention, goddamn well when free agency is getting ready to start that they're going to go keeping some of their core special team players. It happens literally every year. This year, no different. They re-signed punter Sam Martin, 3 years. I read around $6 million, 4.1 of that guaranteed. That's fine. Good punter.
Didn't he
Yeah.
suck? I thought he
He
wasn't.
was good. I think he had his no, he had
I
his best putting average in years, actually. He was fine.
really?
You
I
got
don't
he
know.
was a free agent. They like him. He held fine, held the ball. So, no issues. Good re-signing there. Tyler Matekovich, 1-year extension. Sal Capaccio reported it was like 2.5 million this year guaranteed. Man, the Bills really love their special team guys. And then Cam Lewis, another special teams guy, depth in the secondary. They announced his resigning today. And actually the Bills announced it. So that actually is official because he's a resigning guy. That could be official now. And then another thing that they did on Monday to free up some more cap room is they redid Naheem Hines' deal, and basically, long story short, his cap hit this year goes down from 4.79 million to about 3.5. So they save roughly 1.3 million. So I would say, based on that Naheem Hines is definitely in the mix. Is he going to be the second running back this year? Is he going to be? He's definitely going to be the kick returner, and he was very good at that last year. What his role will be on this team? Will he have an expanded role? It remains to be seen. But anyway, those were the moves, pretty much all special teams related, like I said, to that preceded legal tampering period starting here on Monday afternoon. You surprised, special teams guys? I mean, you got to have them, I guess, but it just seems like the Bills really
Eh,
love getting their special team shit done quick, ain't it?
I don't care
It's
for
like
special teams. Whatever. They don't exactly.
Matekovich getting 2.5 million guaranteed feels like a lot to me. I don't know.
I don't know, man. I hate to say it, but I really, because of like kickoffs being like, you can kick 9 out of 10 times you're kicking the ball out of the end zone, right? Like it's always a
Yeah.
kickoff. The Bills don't exactly punt all that much. Like, good for them, obviously. So really, do we need to invest in gunners and things like that? I don't know. Whatever.
Well, I mean, you got to have a couple guys. I just
Sure, but
2.5 for Matekovich. It just feels like a lot to me. Cam Lewis signing, it's like, all right, cool. He's not even guaranteed to make the team by no means. So,
yeah.
I like
But
Cam Lewis. He's a
funny,
UB guy. I want to root for him, but I still can't get over him not knocking the ball down in the fourth down against Justin Jefferson. Bills win that game.
but
Bills
it's
get home
funny.
field advantage.
Here's the thing, though, because it's easy for me to sit there and kind of go like, oh, like it's whatever. It's just a special teams guy. But then you think about guys like Isaiah Hodgins, who was really good, or he not. I don't want to overdo it, but like he was good with the Giants.
He's
And the
been
reason,
great with the Giants.
yeah, but the reason why they didn't bring him up was he couldn't play special teams because
Right.
they had to have spaces, these spots dedicated to these special teams. So that's why it could cut you in the balls a little bit. And I'm not saying, look, they're always going to be that guy who is like the training camp hero. Like, oh man, why did we cut him? He was a wide receiver, and then they cut it, and then we should have kept him, and they cut him, and you never see him again. He's one of the anomalies that, like, okay, you saw him again. A low draft pick, but still, that's where you can kind of burn it. But whatever, I guess small things, mosquitoes on a butt, whatever. Go for it.
Let's get to the big news of Monday, and that is middle linebacker Tremaine Edmunds, drafted by this team. You kind of talked about this. Drafted by this team, first round pick, traded up for in 2018. Plays his 5 years. The Bills did not franchise tag him, which was not a surprise. I mean, Brandon Beane pretty much said he was not going to do it. Anyway, did not take long. As expected, there was going to be interest out there. And I'll tell you, early in the day, Joe, without having to run down the guys who were signing earlier, there were a couple good linebackers who signed deals for far less money. And then at around 4 p.m. Monday, news broke. What was it? 4 years, 72 million, 50 million, almost 50 million of this guaranteed. $9.75 million signing bonus, $22 million he's going to make this year, and $42 million in his first 2 years. That is, well, the average is 18 million a year, but that really don't mean much. What you're really looking at for sure is 2 years, 42 million right off the bat. And then you kind of go from there. I mean, I feel like we shouldn't act surprised. I mean, we knew he was going to get paid. If you pay attention, I didn't know who it was going to be. If it was going to be Buffalo, were they going to pony up big money? but where was he going to go? Well, we got that answer, Chicago Bears. Thoughts, man. And before you give me your thoughts, I want to circle back to something you said, because if you're upset that he's leaving, this is what could bother you or me or any Bills fan. You talk about draft develop. Okay, well, you trade up in the first round, you draft the quarterback of your defense, you develop him. Polarizing player. A lot of people did not like him for 3 years. 2021 played reasonably well. Still kind of divided. I think this past year, for the most part, he played really well, put himself in a position. Obviously, he's only 25 years old. Aren't these the kind of guys where if you're going to overpay for players, a middle linebacker, a guy who's still young, who still might be ascending, this is the kind of that draft developing and keep your own. It just doesn't feel like it fits the formula of what this organization is supposed to be about. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and it's a double-edged sword for me a little bit. Like first, like with development, like they traded a third-round pick they switched first with the Ravens, and then
Yep.
they
Gave up a third.
They gave up a third, and the Ravens gave the Bills back a fifth. So they did trade up for that guy. I have mixed feelings about it because look, I can't be a hypocrite because I've talked about like you gotta let him go because you got too much assets, too much money tied into your defense.
Because you need to build an offensive doom, as your display says if you're watching this on video. Yep.
Yes, you have to build an offensive doom. And as of right now, it feels like if you re-sign him, you can't do that as like the way I want to do it, like in terms of drafting, not drafting, but like getting some guys in free agency, trading for guys that have term on their contract. You can't do it. Also, you have Matt Milano back there. We just talked about it. I think I wonder, like, if Matt Milano didn't exist, like, would he have gotten extended? If with Edmunds, I think he would have.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, and I just think you can't pay 2 linebackers when you only have 2 linebackers on the field for the most part. You can't pay 2 of them like a ridiculous amount of money. I just don't think you can. You have enough money in Von Miller. You have enough in the secondary. You just can't. It is not like what they have preached in terms of developing. I mean, that's the thing. And here's the thing. I am fine with it as long as a week, 2 weeks from today, they have added like a few offensive players that I'm happy about. Okay. If they don't, and they go into the draft like, well, we didn't, sign anyone really that's of consequence in terms of the skill level, like I've talked about, then I'm going to say, well, that seemed a little bit foolish, a little bit. If they're not doing that sort of stuff, if they're not looking for anything for them to do that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. My tweeted today after the signing that I'm fine with it. I'm not bothered by it. I don't want to be a hypocrite either. You can't sit here and you can't say we need offense. Go give me Odell Beckham Jr. Go trade for DeAndre Hopkins. Trade for Derrick Henry. Go sign whoever as a great running back, whatever on the offense. You can't do that and then bitch that they let Tremaine Edmunds go walk and go get $72 million over 4 years from somewhere else.
Yeah.
We've said it. We've talked about this. The defense has been good in the regular season and shit themselves in the playoffs. I had last week Tyler Dunn on my Imperial show, and he talked about Tremaine Edmunds, and he said, listen, and I'm paraphrasing, but only slightly, the guy played great during the regular season, but what happened in that Cincinnati game? He got bullied. And a problem with Bills fans and probably fans around the league who have teams that are good. I don't want to say all fans because some teams, are just terrible, but what's the standard supposed to be with the Buffalo Bills now at this point? Are you satisfied with them looking good in the regular season and putting up 10, 13 victories and being near the top of the rankings defensively or offensively? Or are you going to start judging and evaluating this team's success on how they do in the postseason and the players and how they perform in the postseason? And if that's the case, Tremaine Edmunds, and he used the word bully because that's what happened. Tremaine Edmunds got bullied in that Cincinnati Bengals game. Bullied. So I don't know, man. I'm okay with him leaving. To your point, and I agree, I'm going to be really annoyed if they take that money, and I have every expectation. And if I'm wrong, Aaron Quinn and I will be talking about it on tomorrow night's show. But I have every expectation that Jordan Poyer is also going to be gone. Okay, so now you're going to lose those two guys. I'm fine with that, but you better take some of that money at least and add to this offense, or at least adequately replace this defense. I will be really annoyed if Brandon Beane spends more time and resources worrying about 2024 to 2026 than he is 2023 right now, because you can't waste another year of Josh Allen playing at the level he's been playing at. You just can't.
Yeah, you got to be aggressive. Like, the cap means stuff, but again, it can be finagled. We know that with them reworking some deals. Sure. I don't know how, the Chiefs signed like, with the tackle from Jacksonville to like $80 million.
Jawan Taylor, yeah. 4 years, $80 million.
Great, good tackle. I don't know how they afforded it. They were like $14 million under the cap, and they threw some things out, and they did it. They didn't rest on their laurels. They were like, hey, let's get a solid ass tackle.
Well, the cap room's there now, Joe. I mean, Monday night, it was reported, and we all knew this was coming, but the Bills restructured the contracts of Josh Allen and Von Miller, and they created approximately $32 million in cap space. As we tape this late Monday, I don't know the exact amount, but I can tell you the cap room that they have right now, probably without any other moves coming, probably around 20 million, 17 to 20 million, somewhere in that ballpark. And that doesn't sound like a lot, but you take a guy and you can construct these contracts like Tremaine Edmunds, all this money he's getting. His first year, I think his cap hit for Chicago this year is like $6 million. Yeah. So you can go out, you can go get one or two big time impact players for 12, 13 million.
I don't even know what the Bills were space wise last year when they got Von Miller. They weren't a lot. Like, remember
not a ton.
They had not a ton at all. So yeah, I'm totally like,
there's more, and there's money out there too, by the way, easy money. They could easily do Trey White. They could easily do Deion Dawkins. That's like 11 or 12 million right there too.
Yeah. Just do it up. Like, look, we said this. Let me ask you this real quick.
Go
on
ahead.
the last podcast I was on with you, I talked about how if the Bills let Edmunds go, Bills Twitter would be like, "Oh, the team paid too much. Whoever signed him, but if they stayed here, we would be like, that's a great deal." How? Because I'm not on Bills Twitter right now because I'm giving it up for Lent. That's
stupid.
Yeah, I know you've been complaining. I don't know why you want me back on Twitter. Like, you got a bat line to me on private message. Like, that should be enough. You don't need me all day. I know you love me and all, but how did Bills? What would you say was the consensus? What people? I feel like people said that was too much money. I'm reading the room, and like, we follow the same people, et cetera. Kind of.
Sure.
What would you say? Was it met with he got too much money, or was it like?
Yes, but in fairness, I don't think it's just Bills fans. I think most people are saying it's a combination. Some people are against it, saying it's a good player, but too much money. But there are people out there, some fans, mostly media though, that are saying, yo, the kid's played 5 years in the league, but he's only 25 years old. He's still got a lot of great football left, man. There's a lot of juice in that tank. You know what I'm saying? So,
can I tell you, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I hate the 25-year-old thing. And I'm going to tell you why. It's not like when he got into the league, people's careers end because of wear and tear. It's not because of age. If you're a running back who starts your career at 25 years old, I'm going to bet you're going to last until you're 33, 34. Why? Because those first 3 years, you weren't playing, we'll just say. He played at 19, 20 years old. He was playing every snap. It wasn't like he was sitting on the bench learning. Like, he was playing. They threw him in there. That's wear and tear, man. So, like, I hate hearing he's only 25 years old. Like, what's that supposed to mean? Like, he played those snaps. He's got the mileage is on him. I hate when I heard that so many times, like, leading up to him, and it's like, he's only 25. Like, okay, yeah, but he played right away. He wasn't sitting on his ass the first 2 years of his life. Like, that's wear and tear. You're still going to be sore, and your career is probably going to be shorter than your average linebacker, because your average linebacker started their career at 22. So if they ended at 32, he might end it at 30 because that's the way it works. I just don't like that.
Maybe, but I will
think
say,
so.
regardless of how he plays 7-8 years down the road, what I will say is I feel like right now he's entering the prime of his career. I thought last year was by far his best year, and I think he's going to be really good with Chicago. Again, I'm not going to kick the guy on the way out because I'm a Bills fan and you spurned us for more money elsewhere. First of all, I would do the same thing. Going to give me $42 million over 2 years? I'm gonna take it. Anyway, best of luck to him. I thought it was expected, but still kind of a blow to the team, depending on what Brandon Beane turns around and what he does. But anyway, I want to take a real quick break, come back. We'll talk a little more Tremaine. And also the Bills did sign a guard. We'll talk about him as well. All right, I'm back with Joe from Queens. I almost said by habit because it's a Tuesday show, Joe Yurden. Anyway, so yeah, we've talked about Tremaine, and I think our opinions on him pretty much are out there at this point. Good player, very good player, but we both feel like there's positions of greater priority right now that the Bills should be addressing.
Real quick, if I can ask, I'm sorry to interrupt. Chicago, they don't really have a good defense, right? I kind of remember going into that game like we can score. They don't have, so it's not like it'll be interesting to see how he does there because he doesn't have, I feel, the same talent around him like he did here through most of his years.
Sure.
Now he's going to be counted on as like being the man.
They also, I can't remember the guy's name. It's escaping me. I don't have it in front of me right now, but they also signed another linebacker, a pretty good one today too, as well. They had a lot of draft capital. I think Chicago could be a team on the rise, but yeah, to your point, the defense, as of right now, anyway, certainly nothing to write home about. But yeah, we knew this was coming. Let's just hope. Now that said, Joe, as this day and this night has went on Monday, and there's still some couple guys out there, but that grouping of talented middle linebackers, that list is dissipated really, really quick, man. There's some most of the good linebackers right now who are out there have chosen a team. So we might be looking at a situation where the Bills might get some kind of like, I don't want to say AJ Klein, but like an AJ Klein-ish type of player, maybe a little bit better, and they turn it a draft again.
I feel like they're gonna look. They drafted Terrell, Bernard, right? That's his name.
Yes.
In the 3rd round as a linebacker. Doesn't he have to go in there?
Nope.
Why doesn't he have to? Well, so why? I mean, I
don't think he's that player, man. I know where you're going with this. This is another criticism of Brandon Beane's draft.
Well, I'm just saying. I'm saying if their slogan is draft, develop, and re-sign, don't you want to develop this guy? You spent a 3rd rounder on him. He's a linebacker. I'm not going to pretend I know the X's and O's of
he's 224 pounds, man.
So what the fuck did they draft him for?
Special teams, depth.
They don't. No.
I'm telling you, that's what it is.
There's no way you would draft a guy in the 3rd round with the goal of he needs to be a special teamster. No.
Well, you can let them tell you he's going to start this year. He's not starting.
I will bet you a beer he starts this year.
He's not starting this year.
Starting at least 10 games this year.
Yeah, maybe if Matt Milano or whoever's starting him in a linebacker.
No, because I think
the only
there's no way you draft a linebacker in the 3rd round and you don't expect him to start.
Well, you draft AJ Epinesa in the 2nd round to be a cornerstone on the defensive end rotation.
Because hold on, they do a rotation and he does play, dude. He does play, AJ. Whether you want to
right, because it's a position where you rotate. You don't rotate linebackers. Listen to me. They might feed you that Terrell Bernard. He could easily step in and be the guy. He's not. It's not going to.
But you haven't seen him play, though.
Listen,
you haven't seen him play.
I'm going to tell you this right now. At the end of the season, when they're in the playoffs, this kid is a rookie. He's had 6 months with the team. Listen, let me finish.
Go ahead.
AJ Klein, Terrell Dodson, he wasn't even active in the playoffs. You're going to go from being the 5th or 6th on your own team's depth chart with guys like AJ Klein ahead of you, and then the next year you're going to start to take over Tremaine Edmunds. Ain't going to happen. I'm telling you now, it's not going to happen.
Okay. How many guys over the years have the Bills drafted that they did not play, did not suit up, and they ended up playing the following year? All of those defensive linemen, AJ Epinesa, Boogie Basham, there were games they didn't start. Like they weren't dressed. Remember how many times have we complained? Hey, why aren't they playing the 2nd rounder today when he was a rookie? That happened all the time. I'm not a stand for this guy, but if
Don't
he
be.
does not get on the field next year, that is a bad blow for the GM.
I
I'm
want to
sorry.
be
You don't.
careful too. Listen, I'm not. I don't want to sit here and make it sound like, because I know I am making it sound like Terrell Bernard. I think he's a bum. He's not.
You've
He's a
been saying
depth
he's a
guy.
bum.
He's a
You
depth
hate him.
guy. He's a depth guy. He's Terrell Dotson. He's Terrell Dotson for the next 8 to 10 years.
I can't believe that if you're right, then mazel tov to you. But if they picked a third rounder to just play special teams, that's a bad pick. I mean, look, I have this consensus of draft picks.
Do you see what the Bills do with you see how much they value special teams?
But they don't. They're just guys. They don't draft them in the
He-
third round.
He could
and
play
make it-
snaps. He'll back up Milano. He'll back up whoever it's going to be.
We're gonna
It's not
see.
going to be him.
I don't know. I'm not. How could you say it's not going to be him? But you're going to say Shakir should be their slot wide receiver when he had 10 catches.
Listen, completely different situation.
No, it's the same
Yes,
situation.
What did we just talk about? Tremaine Edmunds about 10 minutes ago before the break. What did we just talk? What did I bring up that Tyler told me during the show last week? He said Tremaine got bullied against Cincinnati. Tremaine Edmunds is 6'5", 250 pounds. Terrell Bernard's like 6'1", 6'2", 224. He's smaller than Milano.
He can gain weight.
He is going to be. He might have a role on this team, and I certainly hope he does. I like him. But
like him. Okay,
I like him as a person.
What are you going to get wigs with him? All right, yeah,
sure.
you like him as a person.
He is. Put it this way: you can anticipate, Joe. There's again, Bobby Wagner's out there, but I think he's either going to go to Dallas or Seattle. Eric Hendricks actually tweeted tonight that he was going to the Chargers. Devontae Davis definitely a name to watch out for Tampa Bay. Again, I want to be careful dropping names because by the time people hear this, most of these guys are going to be signed somewhere. So, I don't want to get too much into them.
If they sign at 3 a.m. with the Bills, we're coming back on here.
But those are probably the two biggest by far. And Van Esch from Dallas, who I don't like very much. He's out there too. But anyway, a lot of good linebackers. I'll name a few of them in a few minutes. Signed today. So you are looking at a potential long in the tooth, maybe stopgap middle linebacker type while you draft possibly even maybe in the first round. Put it this way. If Tremaine, of right now,
I will barf if they draft a linebacker in the first round.
Get ready to stick your fingers down your throat, then, because I'm going to tell you now.
No,
dude,
don't put that evil in the universe or on me. This is all your fault if they do this.
I'm telling you, it's in play as of now. Now maybe to go get Bobby Wagner tomorrow, and then it's not. But if they don't, it's in play.
No, sign freaking London Fletcher.
Who's the head coach of this team? Let me ask you. Maybe you forgot. Who's the head coach of this football team?
Yeah,
it's Sean McDermott,
Sean
right?
Fucking Dermott.
Exactly. Yes. You think he's going to be? You think he's going to be content to go with Terrell Bernard as his new middle linebacker?
Yes,
you're
absolutely.
Nuts.
Well, they have Matt Milano. I will hate if they draft a linebacker in the first round. And that feels like what the Bills used to do with their running backs, where it would be like, hey, we're gonna instead of extending Travis Henry, we're gonna go draft Willis McGahee or whatever. That's what it feels like to me. Now you made me hate Tremaine Edmunds leaving. Because
I'm just going to throw out for everybody listening, for everybody watching. Not going to discuss him today. It's I'm sure it's play. You obviously, because you're not into the prospects quite yet. But Jack Campbell's a middle linebacker from Iowa, very comparable athletically to Tremaine. And I'm telling you now, he's probably the one linebacker who would be graded out to potentially go right around the time when the Bills pick. I'm just telling you, man, whether you like it, whether you don't like it. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I'm telling you, as of right now, you lose Tremaine Edmunds. You don't do anything about it. Middle linebackers in play with the first round pick. Simple as that. All right. So anyway, the Bills did make a new signing today. They picked up Connor McGovern, which, by the way, you want to talk about confusing. He's not even the only Connor McGovern in the NFL right now. There's also a center/guard for the New York Jets, who I actually started looking up his stats and information after this signing. But anyway, we're talking Connor McGovern, who plays for the Dallas Cowboys. The Bills gave him a 3-year deal at $23 million. As we're taping this, I'm not quite sure. I haven't read anything about any like guarantees and base salaries or stuff like that. But anyway, he's a 3rd round pick out of Penn State in 2019. Started at left guard last year for Dallas, probably slides in there. Ryan Bates could stay at right guard, but that might be interchangeable. Started 15 games last year, 29 for his career. We were talking about this today, well before we started doing the show tonight. And I think you kind of do the same thing that I do. When a player signs sometimes that I don't already know very well from another team, which is usually offensive linemen or tight ends, stuff like that. I like to go to websites that cover the other team, or I like to get read comments from posts from like SB Nation, from like the team that the Bills will sign a guy from, kind of get the temperature for how those fans feel about him. And the vibe I got was, okay, a lower tier to average starter. I mean, he is a starter, so you can look at it that way. It's like, well, it's not very inspirational signing, but you could also take the point of view that he's going to be better. He's got to be better than Roger Stafford was last year. So it's an upgrade.
I feel like we said that about Stafford. Sorry.
Stafford. He was a Stafford. I agree. He was Pro Bowler.
I feel like we said that because like John Feliciano left. They're like, well, he's got to be better than that asshole. And
that's a good point. And he wasn't.
The only numbers I looked up, I saw Pro Football Focus. I know it's subjective. Some people like them. Some people hate them. He had a grade of 52.3, which does not sound good. I also looked up that this has nothing to do with Dallas. He also only had one penalty last season, which I thought was pretty good. Like if you're an offensive lineman, you start 15 games, you only got one penalty. That's pretty good. I know the stat is kind of more of like about Dallas, the offensive line, but they were like near the bottom of the league in terms of yards before a contact, for running backs, which they were like, I think 9th worst, which is not a great number because I think that's an offensive line stat that people like to look up to see like, because if you're getting killed behind, if your running back's getting killed right away, then it's like, that's on the offensive line. So Dallas primarily, like they seem like a more of a running team, and that they had some injuries like Dax, Prescott was hurt last year for like a month. It's fine, I guess. Like, yeah, he at least he's younger. At least it's a 3-year contract, so it doesn't feel like, I talked about this before.
Sure.
That the Bills haven't signed the Bills hadn't signed an offensive free agent for more than a 1-year deal since like 2019. Every free agent they brought in for offense has been like 1 year prove it deal, like Emmanuel Sanders, think guys like that. So fine, they I'm fine. Look, I've talked about weapons a lot on this podcast with tight ends, wide receivers. Mm-hmm. I'm fine with adding some guards and some linemen. They definitely need help up there. So if that's a good step in the right direction, I wouldn't mind having another one. Get some more. They were not inspiring last year, the offensive line. So if they want to add some more guys, I'm not gonna cry about it.
I think the signing says something about the plan of the offense. And what I mean by that is this. The book on this kid is he is strong with pass blocking and weak with run blocking. I'm put up a tweet. Matt Perino threw this up from Pro Football Focus. Connor McGovern graded out as the number 13 interior offensive lineman with a 76.6 pass block grade last season per PFF. For comparison's sake, Chris Lindstrom graded out to an 81.7. Lindstrom just signed a really big deal. Anyway, McGovern has allowed only 2 sacks all season and gave up 23 pressures. So on the pass blocking side, he's good. On the run blocking side, from everything I've read and heard, not so much. And it kind of feels like the formula for a Bills offense. Athletic guys who can pass block but can't run block. Worse shit. And one more thing, too. I did look up injury-wise. He had a pectoral injury. He ended his rookie year in 2019. I read the Dallas Morning News. Again, I wanted to get some more information about him from a Dallas perspective. And what they wrote was, though he played well at times at guard, McGovern's performance was mixed last season. He struggled with injuries throughout his career, and only toward the end of the season did he see significant reps as a starter. Again, a lower tier to average starter. Don't forget, Eibachter's in the mix too. And Eibacher played pretty well 2 years ago. So
keep in mind that
I'm all right with it. I'd rather see big money. If you're going to spend $12-13 million instead of a guard, go give me a receiver or a tight end, man.
Yeah. Keep in mind, like the grade I read to you was overall grade at 52.3.
Yeah.
And that shows you if he was like around 81, like the pass blocking thing, he must have been in the 20s and 30s for run blocking. And also it's a little bit, I don't want to say misguided, but Dallas did not throw the ball a lot last year. That, they ran the ball a ton. So if you're really good in pass blocking situations, keep in mind they're not passing the ball like the Bills are passing the ball all over the field. They run a lot. So it's a little bit like, oh yeah, he's good in pass blocking, but he's not in pass blocking situations as much as like our guys are, so that could be a line that number could deflate a bit because he's not in those situations as much as like a pass happy team. Because Dallas was not a pass happy team, last year. They ran the ball a lot. Like their running backs almost had 2,000 yards rushing between the two of them. So but yeah, look, it's fine. I'm not gonna like say successful offseason over here.
Well,
it's just that
it is Monday night. It's
Monday night.
But
yes, but they have to add some more
start.
guys.
It's not a bad start. I feel like he should be. Now, I will say the positives that I have heard about him too. I'm reading the kind of like these mixed bag reviews. Well, on the upside, he is young and still ascending. Like he's still got room to become a better player. All right. Anyway, so a former Buffalo Bill now signing. You hope that this never matters, but backup quarterback Case Keenum went to the Houston Texans on a 2-year deal. So now for a third straight year, the Bills are in a market, fourth straight year, actually. It seems like every year Josh Allen's got a new QB2. And that's probably because I ain't going to be Matt Barkley. It's going to be the case again this year. So Case Keenum is gone. So you look at a couple guys out there. I really like Marcus Mariota a lot. I liked Mike White an awful lot as well as a backup, but he actually just signed with Miami on Monday. The guy that you liked a lot, Sam Darnold, signed with the San Francisco 49ers.
I don't like him a lot. No. I said like, hey, I think this is my.
He said he's Josh's boy. My bad.
He's Josh's boy. Okay, and that's why I look like who the quarterbacks could be. It's Josh's boy. Like he has to be friendly with them. He picks who he likes, and he's best friends with Darnold. I don't really. I'll throw this at you. You're gonna laugh. It's go no effing way. But what about Carson Wentz? I'm serious. I'm kind of serious only because of this. I'll say this. He's probably done. I don't know why, but there's something about. I'm gonna get into trouble saying this. He's very virtuous, and the Bills have a lot of virtuous players on their team. Like, oh God, hey, I'm giving up Lentz, so I can't talk shit, or giving up Twitter for Lentz, so I can't talk shit. But he feels like one of those guys who would mesh with that kind of virtuous thing. I'm not saying I want that. I think people who would start. I can already see like probably Joe DiBiase tweeting, "What about this guy? His stats are good for a backup," and then everyone's like, "Screw you! Like it's horrible. Don't get him." Like going crazy. Like I don't really care who the backup quarterback is, to be honest with you, because I tend to believe that the majority of backup quarterbacks are pretty bad. Like if Case Keenum played in that last year, it would have been a disaster. Like they would have gone.
Yeah, if Josh goes down, there's no.
It's over.
Out. The
so
Bills
really,
ain't winning.
I don't waste. But I'm just curious, like about like what if? I don't care. I'm sorry about Carson Wentz, but I'm just curious. Like maybe like he matches their little. Aren't they in? Oh, and the Dakota, Montana thing. They're kind of like close. There, I think of those states as like the same area. Anyways, I digress. But I don't really give a shit who the backup is, to be honest with you.
You know what? I find what's scary, Joe?
What's that?
Not scary. Carson Wentz is like the I want to say it's either third or fourth. The Bills betting odds right now are like either third or fourth highest for him to come to Buffalo. Fuck that, man. I'm telling you, I haven't scored this whole podcast. I've been good for 55 minutes. Fuck that shit though. I do not want Carson Wentz.
He does have like the Josh. If you were not to close your eyes, but if you just didn't watch them play and you watched them throw in practice, they're both big. They both run. They both have pretty good arm strength. Like if you just watched them throw a football through a tire, and they kind of have that. I don't know, man. You never know. They might. I could see because Carson Wentz he's one of those shitty. I think he sucks, but like he's one of those. He does, but he's one of those weird guys that I feel. His fans are pretty loud, like, oh man, he's a good guy. Like Peter King loves him. Like he's always like, I know it's like a media person, but like in terms of him as a person, quote, even though he's been a disaster in these locker rooms. So Anyways, hey, I don't know. You
I
never
hope
know.
that I don't
hope
have
I don't
another game
care.
in my
It would be
life talking about Carson Wentz as a Buffalo Bill.
officially. I'm just gonna say this. I do not care who the backup is. I think whoever the backup is gonna suck. I am team draft a backup like in the 5th, 6th round, and just you never know. He could come
the
in
next Jake Fromm.
Yeah, Jake Fromm. Was that the guy that we picked up from Georgia? That was him, right? And then there was Brian Brom. That's Fromm, Brom. But you know what? He could be Matt Schwab. You never know. He comes in there and he has a couple good games, and then you trade him for a boatload of picks. Like you never know.
I think Marcus Mariota would be a good fit for this offense. I think it would be a good story because I know at this point he would settle for a backup role. Andy Dalton as well. I think that would be
Dalton makes
a pretty cool story.
That makes the most sense. I'm sure we'll
the
get
Buffalo News would do a million feel-good stories about that.
Yeah, can't wait for those. Get their columnists to do it on there. Look at us. Josh Barnett, DM us when you can. Oh, just kidding.
Before we get back to wrap up with some Bill stuff. Couple big moves around the NFL. Jimmy Garoppolo's going to the Raiders, 3-year deal. The Denver Broncos.
He sucks.
Denver Broncos. No, he doesn't. Denver Broncos.
Garoppolo sucks. What the? No. You're insane if you think he's good. He's
fine.
He's blah. He needs to be on a team that's loaded. The Raiders are not loaded.
No, they're not. The Broncos giving right tackle Mike McGlinchey. Dude, 5 years, it pays to be a good right tackle in this league, man. 5 years, $87.5 million with $50 million guaranteed. That's a big signing for Denver. Frisco, defensive tackle Jason Hargrove from the Eagles, a really, really good player. 4 years, $84 million. That Eagles defense, they've lost like 3 starters today, and they might end up losing 5 or 6 by the time free agency is over with. That's how hard it is to keep a team together. And why I always get mad going back, I'm going on my own little tangent here, to that 21 seconds a couple years ago. Don't ever take it for granted you're just going to be back again. Like Philly in the Super Bowl. Don't get me wrong, they're still good. They got a lot of talent, but they're going to lose a lot. Atlanta safeties is something that a lot of Buffalo fans for sure are following. Jesse Bates, a really good safety from Cincinnati, went to Atlanta. 4 years, $64 million, 23 in year 1. A safety that I really like for the Bills is a potential Jordan Poyer replacement, Marcus Epps. He went to the Raiders, so that's out for Jordan Poyer there. A couple other safeties got big deals. How's his name? Von Bell from Cincinnati. He went to Carolina. He got good money. So that market for Jordan, well, I don't want to say it's drying up because, again, it's only literally Monday night, but 4 or 5 safeties off the board that got big money. I'm wondering, put it this way. I don't think Jordan Poyer is coming back to Buffalo. I don't think Jordan Poyer, as much as he liked playing for the Bills and loved the football part of being a Buffalo Bill and a lot of great charity stuff, and I'll always commend him for that, don't think he wants to be here anymore. Let's just leave it at that. You already know his wife doesn't want him to be here anymore.
I definitely don't want her to be here, but I'll say that for a different podcast. I'll just say this about Poyer, like real quick. He will go down, and I agree with you. I think he's gone. I think he's going to Miami. Him and his wife can join DeSantis. They can join DeSantis on the. We'll see. We'll figure it out. But I'll just say this: since the era of free agency, I think him and Ted Washington are like the best. I used bang for the buck already, so I'm going to use it again. The best bang for your buck free agent signings when they signed them and when you were like, oh, okay, it's a guy, and they became awesome. And that's what Ted Washington was that way. He kind of started here and there. He wasn't as good. Then he got here and he got awesome. And it was like one of those guys who I wish like the Bills had in the Super Bowls because he was just a mouth. He could kill. You couldn't run on the middle. He would kill you. And no one really thought of him as much. And then Poyer is that guy. So player wise, he was great. He's a warrior. And I don't use that word a lot, but like
I wish the Bills would find a way to get him back here. I'm telling you, if he's healthy, and hopefully last year, and I hope no matter where he goes, because I got nothing against him, even if it is Miami, I hope he stays healthy. And I want him to play well. He's a great dude, man. But anyway, if he were to return to Buffalo healthy, get another run with him and Hyde back there, man. It's the best safety tandem in the NFL. I'm telling you. And
depends how much you're going to pay for him. It depends how much. But it does feel like it's going. It depends what he gets in the open market. I don't know.
The only reason why, and again, man, by the time if you're listening to this, late morning on Tuesday, it might already be a done deal somewhere else. But if there was a 0% chance of Poyer returning to Buffalo this morning on Monday morning, I would say there's a 10% chance. Only because Tremaine is gone. And then maybe Sean says, listen, I got Micah Hyde back. I don't want to lose Tremaine Edmunds and Jordan Poyer from this defense in the same offseason. So let's try to figure out a way to get it done.
Can I say one more thing? I was listening to your podcast with Ty because I like Ty. You're okay, I guess. And you
only listen because he gave you credit. That's the only reason why.
No. But you brought up taxes to him about like New York State taxes, and it was a good question to ask. And to paraphrase, he kind of said like, yeah, he gets that a lot from a lot of players.
He said he named Chase Edmonds specifically was going to be a Buffalo Bill, and then he saw the taxes and he went to Miami. He said, literally,
that's just insane to me. Like, look, I'm not here to say like, yeah, it sucks to pay taxes, but like taxes, at least for the majority of things, they go to plows, they go to like having sidewalks, roads, things like that. I don't know where like I've had a couple people. A friend of mine lived in Sarasota, Florida, and he used to be from Buffalo, and he talked about how like the taxes don't really go that far down here at all. Like there's roads without the sidewalks, things like that. And it's just like, well, yeah, you pay for those taxes. You don't pay, but you lose some of that stuff. But also at the same time, who gives a shit? Taxes suck. I get them taken out, but you're still a millionaire after. It's like, well, how much money do you need? And look, I'm all about getting paid. Look, get paid. Yeah. But like, come on, like. You're going to really have an issue with like, well, they're taking half my salary. You're going to still make $40 million. Like, what do you need?
I agree. It is when you're rich and, it's easy to say that and easy to criticize people when you're not the one who's getting millions of dollars taken away. I do understand that. But listen, when you're rich and you got fans who are saving their pennies all year to buy season tickets or to buy your jersey or whatever, and you're on Twitter or podcast bitching that you don't want to lose half your money. And as much as everyone likes to blame Rachel Bush for everything, Jordan did say this himself on his own podcast. He's the one who brought up this issue about, not wanting to pay all these taxes. And then, of course, it took on a life of its own on Twitter.
As I said, but get a good, Jordan, if you're listening, get a good accountant, okay? They can expense things for you so you're getting your money back. That's what I do. They have, you get, what's it called? LLC. Get an LLC or something, dude. Like, come on. I'm sorry. Like, get a better accountant. That's all I'm saying. But he's a great player. Sorry, he's a great player. I will miss him as much as I like. Our politics don't intertwine very well. But I can go past that and go like, he was a hell of a player. I wish he got paid here. I feel bad that he's going. I wish him the best,
When Tremaine Edmunds' contract details came out on Monday, I think Bills fans were like, yeah, man, it's just too much. I feel like when Jordan Poyer signs somewhere, whether it's today, Tuesday, whether it's Wednesday, later this week, whatever, I think people are going to look at that contract and be like, man, the Bills could have signed that. And at that point, I think people are going to start to understand that it was more than just the contract itself. I'm going to take a little stab here. And again, I could look like a complete idiot by Tuesday morning. But
not hard to do that, but go ahead.
I think he's going to end up with the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, Dallas.
Yeah, I think Poyer and Bush are headed to the great state of Texas.
Oh, they want to roll with Ted Cruz and Abbott and those losers. They're going to be joining that political trail. Can't wait for that.
All right, so to wrap up here with Bill's stuff, my takeaway right now, as of this moment, and again, one other thing too, I got a couple takeaways actually. Brandon Beane, I think, to his credit, I know we want to have those big impulsive buys right now. I think he wants to see what the market is. I think he wants to see some prices drop, gauge the trade market some, and then kind of strike. One benefit of being a good team is you don't have to go nuts like Jacksonville did last year or like Chicago's doing this year and just throw money around like crazy. Find the right fit. So I'm going to continue for now, at least, to give Brandon Beane a little bit of the benefit of the doubt. Look, there's one position on Monday that did not get touched, and that was the wide receiver market. I don't know if you noticed that. No good wide receivers went anywhere. None. There's a lot of them out there, too. So
Well, the
again,
wide
let's
receiver
not
class
get
is not great.
no, but there's good players, man. There's really good players. Odell Beckham Jr. is, for whatever you want to say about him, he would be a hell of an addition.
Allegedly he wants $20 million a year.
Yeah, he's
I
not
saw.
gonna get that. He's
That's like, I'm like, look, I'm all about getting paid, and I'm
no,
like,
no,
F the
like
cap. But that's a little
Jacoby
bit.
Myers from New England is actually a really good receiver that I've read a lot of good things about when he's with a different team and a different fit, that this kid could really excel. Got a lot of guys that are rumored to be in a trade market. DeAndre Hopkins and Jerry Jeudy from Denver. My point was this. I'm not going to sweat because Brandon Beane didn't go nuts on day one. He lost a great player and he signed an adequate guard. I'm all right with it now. Now, if it gets to be Thursday, Friday, and Connor McGovern ends up being the most notable free agent signing, then I'm going to have some beef with Brandon because, like I said,
Sure,
think about
that's
now
fair.
and not so much 2 years. But here's the other big takeaway. I think at this point, the Bills have had one of the best defenses in the NFL the last couple of years. I think right now, today, I think the Bills got more questions than answers when it comes to their defense. You got your Tremaine Edmunds is gone. He's been a rock in the middle. Jordan Poyer, very soon to be gone. Maybe by the time people are listening to this. Who knows if Trey White's ever going to be the Trey White, the All-Pro before the ACL? Who knows when Von Miller is going to be back and if he's still going to be as great as he looked last year at 34 years old? Those defensive end rotational guys, Epinescent, boogieing them. They've been like, nah. Ed Oliver is clearly worried about money. He wants to get paid.
Yeah, what happened? I'm not. So what happened? He had a deleted tweet or something.
He had a tweet saying something about either money. I don't know what it was, but he was threatening to walk. Give me my money or I'm going to walk or some shit like that. And then he deleted it right away. The Buffalo News, I think somebody got a screenshot. And they were, and to be fair, that is a story. Well, that's a story. But anyway.
No. I mean, like, OGs like him saying that. Like,
my point is this. He's going into his 5th year. He's making $10.9 million this coming season. He had 2.5 sacks last year, and he's a free agent to be, who's clearly worried about money. Micah Hyde, I love Micah.
You hate Ed Oliver.
I don't hate Ed Oliver.
You hate him.
Just
like you hate the linebacker that's going to start next year for them. No, that's on your hate list.
I don't hate Ed Oliver. He has not shown me anything to prove that he's a $16 to $17 million a year defensive tackle like some of these guys are getting in the open market right now. And then last but not least, I love Micah. I love him. But he didn't play last year. Who knows what he's got left? You know what I'm saying? So you look at this defense, all these big names. To me, they got a lot more questions than answers right now.
Yeah, I think I think this is a transition year for the defense. I talked to you before in a few different podcasts about how when you have a really good defense, it's hard to keep that great defense together. And there's a lot of examples over history of like the Seattle Legion of Boom, guys like they were good for like 4 or 5 years and then it was done. Like injuries caught up, free agency, all that. It's harder to keep a defense together than it is to keep a good offense together. And I think we're seeing that right now. I think it's going to be it's going to be a transition year. And I hope it's by design because they're like, okay, you know what? We got to stop with this defense and building it because a great defense is going to get torched by a great offense. And now let's build that offense. And that's what I'm hoping. This is by design and not because, we can't afford people and we got to save money for the Gabe Davis extension or something like that. This is where they have to really it could be a good thing, the transition they're going into for defense if they're putting more assets into the offense.
Now
that's
look,
what we need.
They could go and sign Tuesday here Bobby Wagner, and then all of a sudden you're like, man, he's right now for the short term, he's just every bit as good as Edmunds. And then you're not really talking about the defense being retooled or revamped. If I could look into my crystal ball, I could see it already, and I don't like it. And it's not fair because it was never going to happen. But I can see a lot of Bills fans being like, man, I really, really wish that we kept Ryan Dable and he promoted him the head coach and let Sean walk. That's coming. If this offense, if this defense takes a big step back and the offense doesn't improve, against good teams, I don't know. It's just something I foresee. I hope not. Because
I'll say this.
You don't fire Sean McDermott after what?
Yeah, you don't. But I'm going to say this. I haven't been on your podcast since the Leslie Frazier thing happened. There's going to be a lot of pressure on McDermott since allegedly it's been reported he's calling the defense next year. Because now it's none of this like we weren't sure if Leslie Frazier's defense was Sean McDermott's defense or was all his defense or like I think of Sean McDermott as a micromanager, and I think, if he wanted Leslie Frazier to be more aggressive in calls, he would have walked into his office and go, "You need to call more aggressive plays, stunts, things like that." Like, it was not like full autonomy, like, "Hey, buddy, have fun. You do the defense, and I'll sit here and clap all day." Like, he definitely was involved. Now there is no Leslie Frazier. This is Sean McDermott's defense. We're going to see how good he doesn't have Leslie Frazier as the shield. Because I think when the defense had their moments of collapsing, I think it was I'm going to throw an overarching like position. I thought Frazier would get the blame more for the defense having shortcomings than McDermott did. And I don't know if that was fair or not, because as I said, I think McDermott is in those meetings. He can have a say in it. He is a defensive guy. Now next year, it's going to be all him. So if the defense falls a few octaves down, he better hope that the offense is kicking ass and like scoring 30, 40 a game, because I think that's when you're going to start saying, well, what is this defensive guru? Like, that's what we hired him for. And, I'm sure he'll get twisted and like, well, he's a good leader and all this shit, and fine, whatever. But like, I think there's going to be a lot of pressure on him. Like, to your point about Dable, where we're going to see like, the defensive line is the same pretty much next year, like in terms of like the same people. So let's see if he's going to dial it up, because in Carolina, they had a lot of sacks. I remember I had the stat where like from like 2013 to 2016, they had the most sacks in the league. And you and I love sacks. Hasn't been the case here in Buffalo. So we're going to see, like, maybe he's going to come in and he's going to dial up more defenses and be more aggressive. We'll see. But I have a hard time believing that he did not have a say in Leslie Frazier's defense. I just do not believe that.
Of course he did. There is going to be a lot of pressure on him. In fairness to him, he's probably going to be down two Pro Bowl defenders from with Jordan Boyer and Tremaine Edmunds. But
we'll draft and develop some people. Bernard sitting on the bench doing nothing.
There's going to be pressure, period. I don't care if the defense is number 1 in the NFL or number 32 in the NFL. If the Bills only get to the divisional round and collapse and get beat bad again like they have last year, or gagged away like they did 2 years ago, no, the seat's going to at least be warm with Sean McDermott. Anyway, listen, we got to get out of here. But before that, I said this at the beginning of the show, and on a very serious note here. On Sunday, and I haven't talked about this on the podcast or really much on social media either, but my sister's husband, Mark, passed away. He had a heart attack, 57 years old. And they lived in Virginia. And this was last week. And this past weekend, his ashes they had a funeral in Buffalo here on Sunday. And, I sit here and blah, 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 blah all the time, talk. It just feels like second nature. Public speaking is not for everybody. Anyway, so at the funeral, my sister wrote down some beautiful words. And my sister is not even 50 years old and has already lost a husband and many years ago a son. So not even 50 years old, man. She's buried a son and now a husband. I can't imagine. I can't even imagine it. So anyway, Sunday at the funeral, it's not a big funeral. Maybe 30, 40 people are there. And the person who runs it asks Michelle, she comes up and speaks, and she has something written down, and literally shaking, physically shaking, shivering. Again, probably would be shaking and shivering if it was on the most joyous of occasion, because he just doesn't do public speaking. It can be very scary. But now imagine that feeling and having to memorialize your husband in front of everybody. And I got to tell you, man, it was one of the hardest things I've ever seen in my entire life. 51 years. I've never seen someone look so helpless, sad. And it was just very difficult. And she got through it somehow. I mean, at some point, you can see she's like literally, I got up and I would just stand next to her and just, was rubbing her back and her shoulder, saying, you're doing good. You're trying to be encouraging. Give her all the credit in the world. She did somehow get through it. But I really don't have a message with this. It's just, you see somebody that you love and that you care about struggle and be vulnerable. You hear that word vulnerable thrown out all the time. I've never seen I've seen people hurt like that. I've never seen someone more vulnerable than that moment, man. And it's just, you're listening to this, you're watching this, man, sibling, a best friend, a parent, whoever, man. Don't take shit for granted, because it's not, by the way, your husband too. I should throw this out there. And this happens every day, unfortunately, every family, it's nothing unique, but he was, I don't want to say he was healthy, but he was, it was sudden. He wasn't sick in the hospital, dying. And, you don't have an opportunity when you wake up and your husband's on the couch, had a heart attack and he's dead. It's awful. And my sister's watching this. I love you very much. And, yeah, it was it was hell, man. It was really hard to watch her have to go through that, but she did it, man. She pulled through. It was really cool. So anyway,
I'm sorry for her loss, Pat.
Yeah, man, it blows, man. It really does.
Man.
But anyway, thanks for letting me get off that chest. And by the way, on a happier note, I am going to Florida. I'm doing a show with Aaron Quinn, so taping it Tuesday night. It'll be dropping Wednesday morning. Then my ass is heading to Florida for 5 days. I cannot wait. I'm excited about it. Hopefully the weather cooperates. No live show this weekend, Imperial Pizza, but I will be back with the new one.
Did Aaron Quinn light a candle for Tremaine Edmunds leaving? I know he was always his biggest fan. Did he light a candle? Did he pour a 40 out in his honor and go, "I'm going to miss you, Blue"?
I will ask Aaron Quinn on our taping tomorrow night. All right, from Joe for Queens, I'm Pat Moran. Thank you very much for listening, and